99% of people who own crypto don't know what each of those cryptos does. So like, that's like, like this is probably making it like, sorry to everyone in crypto, but like I know so many people who've got like, 10, 20, maybe even more money in like Ethereum, and they don't know what a blockchain is.
We're looking at a chart of Dixie right now. It looks like a it looks like Bitcoin before it collapsed.
Yep, it really has had this this indestructible run to the upside until just now. There's some chinks in the armor that are showing up.
He started telling me about psychology, started looking into that, and that's what really helped my journey go onto it. But I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for him, in all honesty.
Very nice to say. Now you should be able to kick his butt as we start. So here's a little secret tip for you guys. If you're trading the Dixie and you can't trade the Dixie because it's not really well traded, you can use dollar Swiss, and it's like a 95% substitute.
Interesting. Okay. Technical gods also correlated to me to more of like the mental and spiritual side of trading. I'm big on overall, I would say like the deeper aspects of it, where you also have to learn how to manage your belief systems. You have to learn how to manage your emotions. You have to control the whole trading environment, if that makes sense, as much as you can. And you can't change what's going to happen in the markets, but you can change what happens eternally and how you process the information you see.
You guys are pretty much, you call yourselves technical gods, because you're clearly practitioners of technical analysis. But I'm just curious, do you look at news at all? Do you pay attention to the calendar? Does fundamental macro background at all, play a factor in what you're doing on a day-to-day basis? How does it work for you?
Definitely. So we do pay attention to news. We actually love it because it brings volatility into the market. But we believe that it goes along with technicals, as in we don't think that, the news is going to completely eradicate our trade analysis, if that makes sense. The only news that we do not pay attention to at all is NFP and FOMC, but we love all the other ones like CPI.
The only news you do not pay any attention to at all? That's the two of the most important newses. How do you not pay attention to that?
No, I pay attention to it, but I mean, I don't trade it.
Oh, I see.
We're not trading.
You know why you step away from that news? Because it's the only news that will completely contravene all your technical analysis. Because
let the market take you in. It's unlikely to be the key moment right now, even though you're hyped and it doesn't feel like work not to trade.
Fantastic. Francis, that is actually brilliant. And not only that, I can see that you got the visual representation of actually your potential downside and your potential upside. And a lot of people actually don't do that. And
we all need to learn to become good custodians of money, not just charities, but every one of us, because money flows from those who value it most and look after it well to those away from those that don't and towards those that do.
Fantastic. Francis, thank you so much for that. That was absolutely brilliant.
Is the Fed really going to come swinging tomorrow with something the market doesn't want to hear? When we're at that time of the season where it's the second half of the years, or maybe some sector rotation and positioning where we have like a slow August and maybe a September effect where historically it's the most bearish market in the year. Or does the market care at all? And maybe it doesn't. Maybe this year is just like the FOMO is real, and the best way to be involved is just to continue to participate and blinders on, trade what you see, and it's probably going to new highs.
I think there's a couple of things to kind of keep in mind there, right? NVIDIA kind of made everybody's radar after it had gone up 100% over the course of maybe 3 months, right? So at this point, I think, and I think that this is a market agnostic kind of comment, right? It doesn't matter what you're trading. If something makes a move like that, a super extreme move, in my mind, I don't care if NVIDIA goes up another 100% from where it is right now. It's off the radar for me. I don't care what NVIDIA does at this point. It's moved too much. This is all pure hype trade now at this point, right? And every market's kind of got its thing, but the stock market is really super excellent in getting overhyped and getting people getting too excited about things. And I think there's kind of two sides to that, right? I mean, when we're talking, as Chris was mentioning, some of these big companies, Apple and Microsoft and NVIDIA and some of these other guys, I would feel better having a bond a corporate bond from Apple than I would from the U.S. government. I think I have a better chance of getting paid back from Apple than I do from Uncle Sam, as we say, right? You know, ChatGPT is this interesting thing. I think the most important thing about it is that it just gets people's awareness, right? And what can we do with this, and how do we kind of start gearing ourselves towards it? But all of this technology, I mean, if you talk about AI stocks and then some of these other, you know, the snowflakes and the Palantirs out there that's all these guys have been doing, right? Is machine learning and heavy digesting of data. There's all these kids graduating college with data science degrees. So this isn't anything new, right? That's not really, I don't know where AI fits into that yet. It's already been there. It's already doing that.
Well, I can say that the last several months for me have felt like there's a saying out there that amateurs open and pros close. And so when you're watching the markets, you know, opening bell to closing bell, you can tell there is a very different feel and vibe and look to the market from 9:30 a.m. Eastern time when opening bell hits versus 2 p.m. So 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., the market is way more efficient, way more volume-esque, way more aggressive price action. And I think a lot of that is driven by quants and algos, and not necessarily AI, but I think there's a lot of heavy machine trading at those times because it's just, there's heavy volume flow, there's positioning, there's hedging going on all over the markets.
I think you have to be kind of aware that this is very unhealthy for you to constantly have distractions all the time from things, and to really be on top of your time. And I think as well, like for traders and inexperienced traders, over trading is probably one of the most dangerous things for new traders to kind of do, where they're forcing trades. I do think that it's good to give yourself a window.
But the most painful trade this year has been people that have been fleeing to safety and didn't want to invest in the market in 2023 because they thought it was going to be a permanent bear market. But instead, now they're looking at stocks that are up, you know, hundreds of percent year to date, and you know, ETFs that are up 40% and 20% respectively and making new highs. And within a whisper of those all-time highs. And I mean, I don't want to short it at the all-time highs.
I mean, just speaking of content creators, right? I mean, I think AI has potential to really do something to a stock like Adobe, right? People sit and use Adobe products, and you use Photoshop, and you spend hours and hours editing a picture, or hours and hours editing video content.
Yep.
I think AI has the potential to cut that down by 90%, right? So I would say, you know, on the trader side of it, you know, be careful chasing the hype. You have to kind of keep your brain in the game, and you have to stay sane about how you participate in these movements. It doesn't mean it's time to short NVIDIA, and it doesn't mean it's time to jump in and buy it. NVIDIA is a watch stock for me. I'm watching it. I'm looking for something to happen that's interesting. If NVIDIA has a terrible earnings, if they have something that really drives the stock down, it gets back on my radar and it's something I might want to buy. But as it stands, it's kind of in a gray spot for me.
I wanted to add to that, one thing that could make some really exciting plays in trading as far as AI is the possibility that AI can produce way more efficiency and productivity around the globe. This can help things like manufacturing. This can help things like transportation. This help things like healthcare and finance. You know, an individual can do 5 to 10 times more. I mean, Jared and I think about like how much more content we could have out there for our firm. You know, getting out there and, you know, doing podcasts and writing papers and getting published. We would love to do that. As humans, it's like there's only so much time in the day from, you know, opening bell, closing bell, everything else we got going on.
We're huge fans of not following the map. So that's kind of one of our trading tenets is if a stock we're trading is in the headline, it's not a stock we want to be in. I think the best thing that anybody can do in kind of the AI space is just get familiar with it, start using it. You know, I think that's the best thing you can do is just at least know. I mean, there's always going to be those out there that resist and that don't want the change and they don't want to jump on board with a new trend or something that is unfamiliar. I would just say get familiar with it. Get real familiar with.
There definitely was some online platforms. I wouldn't have called them intuitive, that's for sure, but they were clunky and they were functional. But there were still a lot of people out there in the the traders groups, and when people would meet up, there would still be those brokers out there trying to talk to a group of people to get clients.
What was the first? Do you still remember the first trade you ever made?
Yeah, I remember about it. I can't tell you the company. For many, many years, I did remember the stock because I used to tell the story, and I've actually now completely forgotten that stock. What I will tell you is that decision was just silly. Like, I remember my wife and I on the phone talking about this stock for way too long. Neither of us knew the right questions to ask each other. Neither of us knew what to talk about. We just thought, we both came to this conclusion that, well, if we don't buy this one, then we've got to start this process all over again and try to find another stock. It's my wife and I have now saved up some money, and what do we do? Right. And we saw a licensed advisor who suggested, well, you are quite young, you can afford to take risk. Right. I suggest you buy some stock. And we go, oh, stock. Okay, I think we know what that is, but like there's a lot. Like, which one do you buy, or which ones do you buy? But that whetted the appetite. That was, let's not leave this in the bank. Let's do something with it. Let's be a bit more active. And that really was the initial idea to get into stocks.
It has to be exciting. Like, the point is, nobody gets excited saying, oh, I want to be a dentist for the rest of my life drilling holes because that's a very, very steady income. That's how I should be trading. No, everybody's like, the reason people get excited about this is precisely because it's completely different from every other professional job that you could have.
We are people, after all, and emotions are very much part of our fabric. And it's very difficult to flick a switch and turn all that off. But you're right. We know after a certain period of time, we realize, you know what, I think this emotion thing is getting in my way. I think it's becoming a problem. And yet it was that sort of emotion initially that got us into this. And then we have to maybe change our thinking altogether and try to remove that emotion as much as we can. So solitary, yes, it is. And yes, you can really struggle. And no, I didn't struggle too much, but I did a little bit. I think the important thing is getting out and doing other things outside of trading. Don't let it consume you. It's not the be all and end all. Do other things. So I think I was incredibly lucky, very, very fortunate that I had things in me in my profession that I could bring into trading and actually really, really helped me. Things like having a plan, being methodical and following that plan and sticking to rules and being disciplined. So I was very, very lucky in that sense. And I think for me, I brought more of my own personality just through fortune and being very, very lucky in what I did into trading, which really, really helped me, as opposed to maybe trading teaching me stuff. Well, I can tell you two things. One was never do that again. So I deserve better. Never put myself in that position again where I go through that emotional, horrible journey. But in very simple terms, a technique that I adopted, which I hadn't had previously because I didn't know or didn't think it was important, was simply locking in profit on a move higher. I still haven't convinced myself of being able to relinquish that control and hand over to, a program or a bot or whatever to just do stuff. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. I just haven't got to that stage yet.
We talked about, how it all depends on your personality. You said you have to know your personality. I have a highly, highly, what's the word for it? Addictive personality, So therefore, I know I don't have any discipline. Value investing is all about the art of finding value, because he couldn't care less about price. He didn't have stops. He didn't have risk control. It was all about the company was valuable. He will hold it forever. If it goes to zero, he'll buy more, Whereas speculation is all about the art of managing price, which is probability separate, from value. And once you begin to get comfortable with that, and you stop making justifications on value, and you just only look at price as your guiding mechanism, you become a lot more comfortable.
And again, when you and I speak to as many people as we do, a lot of people struggle with this, the solitary nature, especially early on when they are not getting anywhere. That even accentuates that solitary, I'm sitting on my own, I'm just so frustrated. I can't talk to anybody about this, a colleague, a workmate.